That's what it started doing, was the state fully funding all school meals for all children in Colorado.
Not just for kids of poorer families.
No.
Everybody gets a free meal.
Yeah, and that's where we can get into some of the numbers. So they expected to collect about $100 million in the first year.
From the so-called rich guys.
Exactly.
What did they collect?
They collected 112 million, about.
More than they thought.
More than they thought, exactly. And then they expected it to only cost 100 million in that first year. And then in subsequent years, once it was fully operational, only between 70 to 100 million dollars. That was the promise sold. In the first year of operation, fiscal year 23-24, they had a $60 million shortfall in that first year.
60% in the very first year.
Yes.
You're telling me, and I'm very shocked by this, that when you give people free stuff, they accept it. So they miscalculated the cost of this by over 60%. And even with the better than expected revenue coming in, they were underwater instantly.
Yes.
Should we force rich people to buy free school lunches for people who are just slightly less rich? We're going to find out. But first, subscribe and like our channel. Click that little bell icon for notifications. And find the Devil's Advocate podcast on your favorite app. Nash Herman from Independence Institute. Most important question, what does your mother think of that mustache?
She's nice about it, but I can see the disappointment in her eyes.
I'm over 60 years old. My mother still hates the facial hair. It just, whatever. But you want to look Italian? Is that the?
Well, actually, I think it's my Scottish side. It's coming through, yeah.
All right.
Our grandpa had a nice mustache.
Tell you what, just keep growing it. Grow it down like this, because your mom is going to love it. Do like kind of the 70s biker thing. Yeah, she'll like that. All right. On the ballot is LL and MM. Go backward in time and talk to us about what created this thing that we've got to vote on this year.
Yeah, that's a great question. Subsidized school lunches have been around since the 40s in the U.S. And, my dad, he grew up in Colorado, and he was on reduced lunch as a kid in the 60s and 70s. So it's been around for a long time.
And the idea is that kids can't really learn on an empty stomach. So we better shove some food in them before they go. And if they can't afford a lunch, the state picks it up or picks up a portion of it.
Yeah, it's a reasonable thing to, we want our low-income kids to be able to go to school and eat lunches just like all the other kids. So fast forward to 2018, Colorado was before that, the federal government, as I said, subsidized school lunches for kids. And then in 2018, Colorado filled the gap so that even kids who only qualified for reduced lunches would also get full free lunches.
Stop there for a second. So we gave reduced lunches from the feds, and then the state came in and said, oh, no, forget the reduced lunch. We'll just buy, if you can qualify, you get a free lunch.
Exactly.
All right.
And then,
how nice of us. How very, very nice of us.
Exactly. And then COVID-19 happens, and the federal government, as we know, prints a lot of money, spends a lot of money, and they decide for 2 school years, school years 21, 22, or 2020 to 2022, they decided to fully fund lunches for all kids, regardless of income.
Was that a federal decision or a state decision?
It was a federal decision.
Because they were just printing money out the wazoo.
Exactly, and they needed somewhere to spend it.
So this sounds very much like a drug dealer saying, first one's free. So we'll get you pregnant on the idea of free lunches for everybody. And then after that, you guys are going to have to pay for it.
Exactly. Well, and then state politicians, they want the brownie points to take on that challenge and say, we need to continue funding free lunches for all students. Of course. Do you hate students? They're going to starve. So that's how Proposition FF in 2022 comes along, where they say, yeah, we're going to continue funding healthy school meals for all children starting in 2022.
I love the adjective. It's not like crappy school meals, no, healthy school meals for the kids. Who could be against this?
Oh yeah, because I loved my healthy school meals. Michelle Obama's lunches. I wasn't throwing any of that away.
So my daughter, when she was in school, they was the healthy lunch.
Yeah.
And she said, Dad, nobody eats that. They put vegetables on every day, and they give you this wilted lettuce, and nobody eats it, but they're forced to put it on the plate, even if you say, no, thank you. So it just ends up in the trash.
Exactly.
You're young enough to remember this.
Yeah, I think I'm the same age as your daughter, right around there.
Stay the hell away from my daughter.
Don't worry, I'm engaged.
It better not be to my daughter.
Definitely.
All
No.
right. All right, so FF did what?
So that's what it started doing, was the state fully funding all school meals for all children in Colorado.
Not just for kids of poorer families.
No.
Everybody gets a free meal.
Exactly.
And of course, then everybody gets taxed equally to pay for those free meals because everyone's getting a free meal. Therefore, everyone has to put in a little bit to make that happen.
I wish that was the case, but no. They decided that only rich people, so to them that's people earning over $300,000 annually, would be paying for this program. And they do that by capping the state tax deductions to $12,000 for individuals, $16,000 for joint filers. And so those people earning over $300,000 were now footing the bill. And back in 2022, that was about 5% of the state. And now this year, as these new propositions have come along, that's 6%.
Why is it changed from 5% of the state if the tax is roughly the same? Why is it now 6?
Well, that's...
If LL and MM pass.
Yeah, well, wages increase over time. You know, people, as time goes on, you're expected to earn more. However, a key point of that, that not a lot of people caught on to, except we did at the Independence Institute, was that they didn't index that threshold, that $300,000 threshold to inflation. So just in those few years since Proposition FF has been around, people now earning $300,000 in 2025, they only have the purchasing power of $274,000.
In just 3 years?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so for you youngins, you don't remember this, Ronald Reagan helped end bracket creep. It was one of the great ripoffs of inflation, is that you had these tax brackets, but they weren't indexed to inflation. So as inflation made your wage go up, not your purchasing power, but your wage go up, you had to give a larger percentage of that when you clicked over into a new bracket. LL and MM and what created it, FF, don't have anything attached to the inflation, so it's not indexed to anything. So sooner or later, all of us will be paying this tax. So what's a wonderful thing of, we're just going to get those rich bastards. No, sooner or later, it's going to be you and it's going to be your children paying this tax.
Exactly. Just give it time. You know, we only looked out 10 years maybe in our analysis we did on this. And so in 10 years, someone making $300,000 will have the purchasing power in today's dollars of $190,000. So that's quite different from who's paying today.
So if today you're making 190, in the years to come, within 10 years, you'll be paying that tax.
Right.
Because of bracket creep. This is immoral.
Incredibly.
Right, but it's still, what really bothers me about this, and I want to talk about the numbers in a second, is just the morality of it. The idea that we're going to tax the guy down the street in the nicer house so that the kids in my very nice house get a free meal. This goes to the very heart of when democracy, people feel they can vote themselves a raise at somebody else's expense. It all starts falling down. And this is just looking at that through a microscope. But this is just wrong, what economists call a moral hazard, to pick on this group and redistribute the income, not to the poorest people, but to the people just an inch below them. That's robbery.
It is, exactly. Couldn't say it better myself.
So how long did it take for FF to go underwater?
A year.
A year.
So, yeah, and that's where we can get into some of the numbers. So they expected to collect about $100 million in the first year. They expected
from the so-called rich guys.
Exactly.
What did they collect?
We'll get to that. So,
right.
But they collected 112 million about. So
more than they thought.
More than they thought. Exactly. And then they expected it to only cost 100 million in that first year. And then in subsequent years, once it was fully operational, only between $70 to $100 million. That was the promise sold. In the first year of operation, fiscal year 23-24, they had a $60 million shortfall in that first year.
They were over 60%.
Costs, yep.
60% in the very first year.
Yes.
You're telling me, and I'm very shocked by this, that when you give people free stuff, they accept it. So they miscalculated the cost of this by over 60%. And even with the better than expected revenue coming in, they were underwater instantly.
Yes.
So obviously this thing is a failure, and we should learn from this and go back to the old system where we just give money to people who need it, not money to people who don't need it.
Mm-hmm. Especially in a time when we're dealing with budget shortfalls as well, as they like to cry about. So that's when they came this regular session. They said, okay, this program's underwater. What do we do? And they came up with two bills. And the first bill, House Bill 1274, is what brought these new propositions to voters this November.
So if I get it, it's two questions on the ballot, but it's really the same issue. What's the difference between LL and MM?
So LL has to do exactly with what you're talking about with the overcollection. So they overcollected $12 million. So now they're asking, hey, we overcollected. This would otherwise be returned to taxpayers because of the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights. But do you mind letting us keep that? And not just this year. We keep it every year?
Every year, forever, and never ask you again.
Exactly.
What does MM do?
Then MM is where you get into the meat of the actual tax hike on those same individuals, those earning over $300,000. Their deduction limits are lowered to $1,000 for single filers and $2,000 for joint filers, so that they hope to collect an extra $95 million for the program that they initially said.
That sounds like double what they originally did.
Exactly.
So let me see if let me dumb this down so that I can understand it. They decided to screw rich people and give the money to everyone, not to poor people, but to everyone. They're off by so much that they now need to basically double the tax on those mean rich people in order to keep this program going.
Exactly. And they're overshooting it. If the budget shortfall was only $60 million, but now they're asking for 95 extra. And part of that, I think, also has to do with during the special session, they passed an amendment to MM to essentially add another means to give SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program.
Or we used to call food stamps.
Exactly. To give SNAP some extra money because of changes due to the One Big Beautiful Bill, Trump's federal bill.
So we now need to go to the wealthy to bail out rich people having lunch, just not rich enough people. And we need to give more money to people on food stamps. Mm-hmm. All right. So when I talk about a moral hazard with this, I'm looking at several different levels. One, that we're taking a political minority, although a politically disliked minority, because they're 6% of us at this point. But those 6% do better than I do, and so let's get them. This whole idea that I can give myself something, I can get my kid a free lunch, even though I'm perfectly capable of buying it for myself, and I can get that guy down the street to buy it. This is dangerous on so many levels that it's not saying, hey, we need to help the poor. No, it's I want to help myself, and I want to give myself, my own home, free money from this guy. And I see this as a precursor to what they want to do next year when they want to get rid of Colorado's remarkably successful flat income tax rate and go after these rich guys, because rich guys apparently don't own cars and can't move out of the state. I see this as a canary in the coal mine. Do I have it right?
I completely agree. It's a scary preview for next year's ballot fight, I would say. It's testing the waters for how far can we push people's envy And hopefully, from their perspective, hopefully they say yes this time. They don't wisen up to the fact that we, whether intentionally or not, lied about how much this program was going to cost. And let's just try it again next year with a progressive tax.
One other thing they lied about was a promise that this food would be locally sourced. Because heaven forbid parents decide what kids should eat. We, the smart people, know that what they should eat, and we're going to buy it locally. From what I understand, that never happened.
Absolutely.
So that promise is broken, and so we got to believe them again. Here's the other moral hazard, from my point of view. Parents raise their kids, but now some committee raises their kids. So we're really saying, yeah, I'm sure you know what your kids should eat, but we, the smarter people, will decide this for you. You don't have to worry your pretty little heads over what to make Johnny. We're going to make it for him. I see something there where it takes away parental autonomy. You're not a parent yet, but it's so easy to say, oh, one thing I don't have to do, pack a lunch, sign me up. Is that a problem?
Yeah, that's exactly, when I was first looking into this, I was surprised at how surprised legislators were that the enrollment for this program was through the roof. I mean, why wouldn't any parent, the state's going to provide it? Sure, I don't need to provide that lunch, especially during this time when this happened, and it's still happening, a lot of high inflation, parents are going to try to offload that. If, it's their logical, it just makes sense.
And I get it. I got to say, I've had kids who are getting some of that free lunch at the end. It's like, what? I don't have to pack them a lunch? Great. Good. And there's something magical. Maybe it didn't happen when you were a kid, but when I was a kid, you go to lunchroom and the kid next to you would have Oreos and you would have an apple. And you try to make the deal. Or he goes, he's got grapes. I don't like apples. Give me your grapes. And there was this barter system that was created out of nowhere. Kids understood that things have value, and by swapping, by bartering, by trading, you got what you want, I got what I want. The material didn't change, just who had what. Without the government deciding those answers, every kid was happier, and they learned something about the marketplace. I am convinced, because I am that skeptical, that a big part of this is to make sure that kids start learning the goals of socialism, that we all suffer the same amount with the same crappy food that the government gives us, and we'll get the rich guys to pay it. I'm just convinced of it.
Yeah, notice how you said we all suffer. It's not about improvement of one situation. It's all,
This really is just a beautiful microcosm of the Cuban world right there. This is Stalinistic. We're gonna decide what other people should have, and it's easier. It's just so much easier. What happens if LL and MM don't pass?
Yeah, that's the funny thing is I think legislators knew that maybe they're going to catch on. Voters might catch on to us. So let's come up with a contingency, and that's when they made Senate Bill 214, also during the regular session, which says, okay, if we don't collect $150 million in revenue for this program, we'll do what is right and scale back this program. So all the kids who need help with lunches will continue to do so, and the kids whose parents can afford to buy their lunches will continue to do so.
So in other words, when it comes to the distribution of this, we might go back to a more sensible system where, hey, you meet these criteria, free food. If they fail, does FF go away?
No, it does not.
Really?
Nope.
Talk to me about this.
What people need to know is at the end of the day, no kid is going to starve if these fail, because of course, as I said, since the 40s, we have been helping kids with reduced lunches, and since even more recently, we've been helping kids who need it with free lunches.
What about the stigma? My God, the stigma, because those kids get free lunch, they must be the poor kids, so we need to give everybody socialized food because we don't want the stigma. You've heard this.
I've heard that, and frankly, I think it's ridiculous.
Why? You don't have kids. You haven't seen them bullied for being poor.
Well,
What, you want your kitty to be Kenny McCormick from South Park, just ragged on for being that poor kid who has to get a free lunch?
Well, personally, I never had reduced lunch, but my whole entire schooling, I ate school lunches. And I never felt a moment of stigma about what lunch I ate. You know, kids do not care about that kind of thing. They don't notice it.
So you got the lunch but you bought it, or your parents bought it.
Exactly, yeah.
Or somebody else bought it, and kids don't care.
Exactly.
You're convinced of this.
I am. And my experience, that's anecdotal, but I never cared for a moment what my friends
Especially since the money isn't transferred by cash any longer. It's not like you're signed up to a program, you punch in your number at a school, and that's how you get paid for lunch. Nobody knows if you're punching in a number that goes to your private account or if it's filled with money from the state. Nobody knows. Exactly. So this red herring that we got to do it because we don't want to stigmatize these kids. Again, it goes back to another false narrative, which is why we don't trust the government, why we don't trust the media, because they spin these false stories that, these kids are made fun of because they get Nobody knows. They put in their code and that's it.
Yeah, they're trying to start the envy even earlier for the kids. The kids won't notice until you say, hey, they have a better lunch than you because your parents don't make enough.
Who decides what the actual lunch is?
That's a good question. I'm not sure, but I would think the schools or districts.
All right, so every school district decides what they're going to, what the kids should eat. Kids are very different with so many allergies, so many gluten-free, non-processed, lactose intolerant, whatever. How in the world are they going to cover all this? Yeah,
maybe the parents will have to reach out individually. I'm not sure.
It's such a wonderful, easy thing to tax rich people. I mean, we do it with smokers because only 15 or 10% of the population smokes, so we can beat them up. But nobody likes them anyway. They smell bad and they hang out in the corridors in front of a building, so We do it with tourists, with hotel taxes and rental car things, which are outrageously expensive. But screw them too. They're not really people. They just come here. And now we finally moved to the next group, which is somebody who has just a bit more money than me. And this is the siren song of socialism. It is free stuff for my family from that guy who has just a little bit more, and somehow that's good. I can't think of a time in American history where this idea would have ever flown before. This is a post-Obama, post-Biden, new AOC-ish, Bernie Sanders. Try it and see if you like it. This is the first one's free hit for socialism in Colorado, and people love it.
Yeah, it's terrifying. It's instead of worrying about these school lunches, they should probably be worrying about teaching history.
How bad is the state budget, by the way?
In the most recent I've heard is 800 million short already for next year. So it's the same problem as before when they call it a shortfall, but it's really more if they want to maintain their current obligations.
Explain that. I mean, people have a hard time getting that there are these budget cuts, but still we're spending more money. Simplify that.
Well, and that's because as individuals, if you or I say, I have a shortfall in my budget, it means that we're literally concerned about, putting food on our table. When the legislature is saying we have a shortfall, it's because, no, costs are increasing, and we want to keep providing all the services, not dealing with fiscal reality and saying, maybe we need to make some cuts here, as individuals do. No, we need to just keep trying to drum up this catastrophe to get voters to keep giving us more.
And the idea of a cut in government speak is actually a cut in a planned increase. So your budget is going to go up 10%, and we have a budget cut, so it only goes up 5%.
Exactly.
What we hear is, oh my God, we are cutting these programs. Like, no, you're just not getting as big a raise. People don't get that.
Yeah.
They've never gotten it. Republicans on the national level have tried year after year after year to say a cut and an increase is not a cut. It's,
Yeah, for last year, the whole $1.2 billion budget shortfall, the budget still grew by 4%.
even with that budget shortfall.
Exactly.
So,
Well, and that was, mind you, before the One Big Beautiful Bill, which did cause some immediate cuts. But
how did the big beautiful bill force cuts in Colorado?
a lot had to do with the healthcare spending that, these immediate impacts to work requirements would lower enrollment immediately.
Wouldn't that be a savings? I mean, I would think that if Colorado has to show that the people they're giving Medicaid to either have a job or looking for a job or are handicapped and unable to work, that seems like we did this with welfare reform under Bill Clinton, and it saved the welfare system. That's all this is in Colorado as well, right?
Yeah, and that's what we were talking about earlier with SNAP. That's why they're trying to get more money into SNAP, because SNAP is seeing similar new requirements. And also, Colorado has a higher than average error rate with its benefit payments to SNAP. It's over 10%. So they either...
Whoa, what?
Yeah, they either overpay or underpay 10% of their benefits.
Who's they?
The state, when they distribute SNAP benefits. And so because of that, the Trump administration also said, well, since you have such a high error rate, you need to take a bigger share of giving these benefits out. So
it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
All right, the idea that tightening these restrictions is somehow a cut drives me nuts. It's not a cut. But why they use these mechanisms of Medicaid to give healthy people insurance, why they use LL and MM, these free lunches, as a way to give people who already have money free stuff. If people can't see that what they are doing is they are training us in the beauty of socialism. They are training us that, yeah, you don't have to work and you'll still get free insurance. Yeah, you don't have to make a lunch. We'll make it for you. We will take care of this. I know education is about educating the kids. I swear to God, this is about educating the adults. This is about them trying to re-educate us that you can get stuff for free. Let's get you just a little bit down this road, and as you go forward, you'll want more for free and more for free. And we can do it always for the kids, because the kids need clothing, and the kids need housing, and the kids need health care, and the kids need to be active, and they need to be in programs, and we can just go all down that road. The end of that road is the government making decisions for your children on every level, and the government providing all of that at ultimately your expense. Because this is not going to stay. This is not going to stay just a tax on the wealthy.
yeah, there's a psychological term for this, the foot in the door technique, where you first ask someone for a small favor. Hey, let's pay for all the healthy school meals for all. It'll only cost this much. Then, nope, just a few years later. No, actually, this will cost double what we said it was going to cost. But we already, we greased the groove a little. And then next year, oh, progressive tax, right? It's a concerning playbook.
What are the chances this thing fails? I would love to see it fail, LL and MM. Handicap it for me. Just take a guess.
I am very concerned, as you would be in this state. But, you hope that people do their due diligence and understand that no, kids will not be starving if they reject these measures, So I don't know if I can give you a straight answer with
What
that
did
one.
FF pass by?
I believe it was around 13%. If I
So
remember correctly.
it was a very
sizable.
solid. I'll put out my prediction. I think LL and MM pass because it's for the kids. It's got the word healthy in it. But most importantly, if people get it, it's not on me yet. There's no way it's going to pass by the same numbers. It'll be single digits because just like the wolf reintroduction, people are seeing this in practice. They're seeing what's going on. They are seeing that that we're training adults not to be parents. And so the next one, when it comes around, and it will come around, maybe we'll get it on that time. If people want to learn more about LLMM, what's a good resource?
Yeah, at thinkfreedom.org, and go to the fiscal policy page. That's where the Fiscal Policy Center at Independence Institute, we published this analysis on LL and MM. And so everything I went over goes in more depth.
Have you kept an eye at all on who's putting money into this race? Because I haven't seen much.
I've seen people reporting on it, but I've not seen much either.
Because there's no money to be made by voting no. So it's not like there's some group out there.
Right.
It's purely on the other side. This is socialism in a petri dish that we're watching with LL and MM. So remember it, look at it, and learn from it, because that's just the start. Nash, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
And always think freedom. If you enjoyed that conversation, by all means, click one of these other great programs. We have the best conversations with the most fascinating Coloradans. And subscribe to our channel. Just click down below and hit that little bell button too. You don't want to miss a single show.